Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 24th, and this is Devotions from St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. We're going to take a passage today from Mark's Gospel. And this is when Jesus tells all the disciples that they will desert him when he is arrested, and specifically talks to Peter. So this is from the 14th chapter of Mark's Gospel. When they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives, and Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I am raised, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter said to him, "Even though all become deserters, I will not." Jesus said to him, "Truly I tell you, this day, this very night, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. But he said vehemently, "Even though I must die with you, I will not deny you." And they all said the same thing. Jesus is quoting from Zechariah in the Old Testament. "Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered." And not too many times later, that's what happened. They came to arrest Jesus, and everyone left. But as you know the story, Peter and John followed Jesus as he was being arrested and went to the high priest's house and were in his courtyard. And there, in fact, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. It's a familiar story. So why is this important to us now? Well, I think Peter is one of the best character representations of human beings that there is. He is a man with such incredible highs and such incredible lows that we can take a lot from him. He was one of the first disciples that Jesus chose. He was one of the most outspoken. He was one of the most aggressive. He's the first one who said, answering a question from Jesus, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." No one had made this witness up till this time. And as Jesus said, "You have not heard this from men, God told you this." But in the story we have, here's Peter doing exactly the opposite of what he did in that first instance, and that's denying Jesus. Now, of course, he said when he was told he would do that, "I will never do that. Even if I have to die with you, I will not deny you." So why did he deny him? Well, think about where they were. They were at the high priest's house. They were questioning Jesus inside. They wanted to kill Jesus. That was pretty obvious from the way they came with clubs and swords to arrest him, and did it at night. So it would be natural for someone to be scared in the position that Peter was in. And Peter forgot all about what he had told Jesus, "I will die with you, but I will not deny you." I think if I was in that position, I might have done the same thing. In fact, it was something that Peter and John followed into that location when all the rest just left. They showed courage, but they also showed curiosity by going there to see what was going on. But then he denied. Now, it's interesting that in one of the Gospels it says that as soon as the cock crowed, Peter looked and saw Jesus, and then he wept. He felt remorse. He felt terrible. He felt, "I failed my Lord." And he went away and cried. So what happened after that? Well, they had all the story of the next 3 days when Jesus was tried and crucified and then raised from the dead. And then afterwards, we see Peter again speaking boldly to the same high priests and leaders that had crucified Jesus. And so we see from the top of the mountain for Peter to the bottom of the hill to the top of the mountain again. And if you think about it, that's the way we are. It's easy to say, I will follow Jesus. And sometimes it's easy to do things that do that. But what happens when we're challenged? What happens when it's inconvenient? What happens when there's something I would rather do than follow Jesus? We have a great advantage over Peter. When Peter denied Jesus, Jesus had not been crucified and, more importantly, had not risen from the dead. And we have that history. We have the witness of Peter and many others that Jesus rose from the dead. And so we have a much stronger case in our background to believe in Jesus. But you know, as soon as he knew that Jesus was risen from the dead, we don't read very much at all bad about Peter. It's all positive. And we need to take that as our example. Has anyone ever asked you, do you believe in Jesus? And when you said yes, said why? Are you ready to give that answer? It takes a lot of courage to say yes, and it takes a lot of thought to have something to say when you're asked why. I encourage you to take the time to prepare that answer now. It will be good for your own faith because it's going to take study and it's going to take prayer and it's going to take talking to other people to gather this material that you can say, this is why I believe in Jesus. But it's important. It's also, it seems to me, following the example of Peter, who was very bold after the resurrection in claiming Jesus as the Messiah, claiming Jesus as the risen Messiah. And we're now in the Easter period, so that's what we're celebrating now. And we need to be able to make that witness as well. I'd ask you to read all of chapter 14 in Mark's Gospel. I've read only a few verses, but the whole chapter talks about Jesus' passion and all the things that go with this. But part of that is the example of Peter, and I commend that to your thoughts and your studies. I hope this will be good for you, and I hope you'll see it as something that will help you in your own witness. Thank you.